Guys, I'm back. I know it's been almost 3 months and I apologize for that. I don't necessarily feel bad about it because I really did need a break, and it wasn't something that was necessarily planned, but it happened and it needed to happen. So now I have a lot of catching up to do. I know that I've been meaning to upload something to at least let you guys know, that I would be getting back on and uploading soon. I think it was November when I posted the last upload, and that was regarding my stance on and my experience with the Kundalini spirit. And I know that was just an introduction, and I'd said I would be going more in depth on that, and I will be going more in depth on that. I've kind of restructured my list of topics to go into, which include things that I personally feel called to go into, as well as things that subscribers or viewers have asked me to go into. So, a little bit of an update. A lot has happened in the last 3 months. I am now married and to a wonderful man, a wonderful Christian man, and we have a home. I have my cats. It's a beautiful home out in the country, and basically over this period of time when I have been MIA, has been basically Thanksgiving. I think I uploaded after Thanksgiving, so the proposal was unexpected at the time that he did so. And so that's another reason that I didn't see it coming, and I didn't really go into the fact that I was seeing him originally on this channel, because I really don't like to even update family or people on things until I know something is absolutely serious. And so that's why there's been no mention of it. I will absolutely go into our story of how we met and how we knew that God made us for one another and everything, our marriage, but not right now. I have to keep a promise to somebody that I know personally who has asked me a question, and I wasn't able to answer it all at the time because we were pressed for time, but I did tell her I would upload a video on it because I was planning on doing so anyway, and it's something that she personally struggles with. And the bottom line of what everything came down to was she was asking me how I got rid of it, how it stopped. And this was something that I specifically suffered for, let's see, I suck at math, but I was about 5 when I have my first memory of it happening. It could have started earlier than that, but I'm not positive. And it went on from that age or earlier until July 9th of 2017. And so that was almost 2 years ago. And that was upon my conversion, coming out of Catholicism, my conversion to biblical Christianity. And when I was liberated from the demonic that had been tormenting me a good majority, if not all, of my life. So the thing that I'm going to be talking about on this video, just to get things rolling again, because it is kind of difficult to start again after almost 3 months, like where to start. And I'm going to start with this. So this topic is mostly known as, inside the medical community, outside of it, as sleep paralysis. And I know that many people have uploaded videos on this topic, and everybody kind of has their own opinions on the topic and what they think it is or isn't, or the cause of it. I've been asked before, and specifically by this person, what do I think it is? Like, what do I believe it is? Is it a spiritual attack? Is it demonic? Is it biological? Is it physical? Is it mental? And my answer is it's not one of those things. Not that it's not one of those things, that it's not only one of those things. I believe it's impossible for it to be strictly spiritual, impossible for it to be Now, I believe it's possible for it to be strictly biological, but I don't believe it's possible for it to be strictly spiritual, and here's why. And based on, obviously, dealing with this from the time that I was 5 at least, as far as my memory serves me, it would have been 5 years old. I really didn't look into it or research into anything about it until probably after or towards the end of the exorcisms that I was going through with Arlington Diocese, and just didn't know that anybody else had ever experienced them or that there was any sort of medical or biological explanation for it. So I didn't know any of this growing up or in my teens. You know, it was as an adult that I did some research on it myself. And I know that there's also something that they call hypnagogia that is related to the sleep paralysis, but includes the hallucinations or things that the sensing of presences and seeing things and feeling things on top of you. That I lean more towards a spiritual side. But just to clarify, from the research that I've done in the medical community, there's a very logical and simple explanation for why somebody would experience sleep paralysis, just in and of itself alone, just the paralysis alone. So for those of you who aren't familiar, it's basically you go to sleep, you go into deep sleep, there is a chemical of some sort that your body naturally releases to paralyze your body while you're dreaming, so that you're not like running around and jumping off your bed and during your dream in your sleep. So it's something that, God created to naturally put our body in a still state while we're sleeping, regardless of what we're dreaming. People who have some sort of malfunction in that area, speaking physically, chemically, biologically, however, what happens is the chemical that's released into the body to paralyze it does not wear off in time. Basically, that we would start to wake up before, like it's backwards. First, it's supposed to wear off. The paralysis part, that chemical is supposed to wear off before you become conscious, awake. But with people who experience sleep paralysis, there's a malfunction there, and first you start to wake up, but that chemical is not completely dissipated yet. And so that's why people experience this very terrifying, you're awake, and you're awake, but you cannot move your body at all. I've heard so many different stories, people from so many different backgrounds, and beliefs. There are people that have only experienced it once in their life, twice in their life, people who've never experienced it before. But for those who experience it on a heavy level, where it's been kind of years or a lifetime thing, those stories are the one that I tend to mostly pick up on what I believe is absolutely 100% demonic. And I think where it kind of crosses over from the basic biochemical issue of it is where people experience things like being raped, feeling exactly like they're being raped, or being pressed down into their bed, being suffocated. I personally would experience the paralysis, and always, without fail, every time. And this was generally, for the most part, every night of my life. Suffocating. Always the suffocation would be there. At a minimum, I would suffocate. I would not be able to breathe. And just when I thought, I was going to die, then I'd, pop out of it. I even kind of feel like short of breath just talking about it. Seriously, this is the, of everything I went through in my life, I think that this was the thing that drove me the most. I hated it. Worse than anything. And I still think I have PTSD regarding it, but, I was liberated from it, and I want to answer the question of this person, and for anybody else out there who's looking for answers regarding this. I don't know medically what can be done as far as that goes. I don't know if they've come up with something medically where they can help restructure it or make it work right or help it happen less. And if there is, I would say always address it. You know, always try to get help. If I'd known of something that would have worked like that, something biochemically that would have helped, medication-wise or otherwise, I would have. I had done a sleep study, gosh, like over a decade ago now. And I could never sleep when they did them. And so they were never able to see what happened when I sleep. They just basically diagnosed me with insomnia and pretty much stopped there. So I don't really have any answers regarding that specifically, but I know it is a biological thing that happens and a condition. Now, where the demonic thing comes in, you know, where the spiritual affliction comes in, you know, it's my belief and my experience that the demons can manipulate and take advantage of physical weaknesses or abnormalities or illnesses in order to further afflict somebody. And this is definitely one of those things that I believe the demonic took advantage of. And it was to such an extreme that once I was liberated, once I did convert, there's been a couple times where I've had a little bit of the paralysis, but I come right out of it and nothing else is connected to it. Like nothing else happens. I don't see anything. I don't feel anything. I don't suffocate. You know, I would basically put them in categories of this: the sleep paralysis, night terrors, and something else that can't be named. So I could have the sleep paralysis and suffocating and feeling like I was being raped without seeing anything, without being in any sort of other sense of being in any sort of other realm or situation. But I would also have the sleep paralysis that went along with, I can't call them nightmares, guys. I can't call them dreams. There are people who've experienced the sleep paralysis that will say as soon as it starts to happen, as soon as you become conscious, you sense such a heavy state of evil that you can't describe it to anybody who hasn't been in it. And it truly is like the atmosphere changes. Like you may be in your room, you may see your room, your bed, your walls, but the entire atmosphere changes. And I know that there's like this whole group of people who are all alien abduction and all of that. My personal opinion on aliens and alien abduction is it's just a distraction. Just like ghosts and haunted houses, you know. It's God or the devil. It's one or the other. You know, there's not this in-between land. And so if you're not dealing with God or his messengers, you're dealing with Satan and his. And God and his messengers do not infiltrate. They do not violate. They do not force. And Satan's do. And so if you're experiencing things like feeling raped or having like a lion or tiger in your face growling on top of you, digging its claws into you, you know, you can pretty much assume that's not from God. I can assure you it's not. But that evil that is sensed, I pray and hope anybody watching this has not been through this, but if you have, I truly don't believe that to be something mental. I think if it was something mental, it wouldn't be something that I was liberated from with the demonic. Because there's a very big difference in separation. Once I was liberated from the demonic possession, obsession, whatever you want to call it, there were specific things that just disappeared forever. And there were other things that I realized was just aftermath, damage, the PTSD, you know, the mood disorder, panic disorder, different things like that. And so those things have to be dealt with, and I'm not saying that God cannot liberate somebody from those things instantaneously, but in my case, there are many things, and I expected that anyways, that I'm going to have to deal with and struggle through for the rest of my life. But I can tell you, there's no comparison, and there's no confusion regarding that it was demonic or not, you know, or if it was something mental or emotional. So it's a simple answer. I can't answer for the strictly medical or biological side of it. You have to go see a doctor for that, or see many doctors. Never just trust one doctor. The things that I've been through medically, physically, you know, surgeries, illnesses, and things like that, I could do an entire channel on that alone, you know, but that's really not what my focus is here. This girl and I have some common factors, and I'm not going to go into hers personally or identifying who she is, because I take, you know, it very seriously as far as, you know, respecting the privacy of my viewers and subscribers and people that I talk about who are not even viewers or subscribers, that I do not have permission to talk about on here. So, aside from that, I didn't free myself, and not a person on this earth freed me. Not a doctor, not a priest, not a pastor, not a spiritual healer, you know, nothing, not myself. It was literally something that went away within the 30 minutes that I was liberated from what had tormented me for the majority of my life, if not all of it up until then. And that answer is a person and God, who is Jesus. And it sounds too simple. It really does. I know how it sounds. I know how that sounded to me before I was freed of these things. But it is the true answer. And I cannot explain it in any other way. There's a difference between believing in something and knowing someone. There's a difference between believing in God and knowing Jesus Christ. There's a difference between knowing Jesus Christ and accepting him as your personal Lord and Savior. As cliche as that phrase sounds, it is the truth. Guys, it's the truth. I knew, or actually I thought I knew who Jesus was as a Catholic from infancy. I knew facts about Jesus, let's say that. I knew facts about Jesus Christ. I knew he was the Son of God. I knew he was God and man. I knew he was the Word become flesh. I knew that he died on the cross so that we could get into heaven as a Catholic. That was what I knew about him. The traits and person and information that I was indoctrinated with in Catholicism about Jesus Christ is not the Jesus Christ of the Bible, and I have mentioned that before in here. I believe Catholicism has a counterfeit gospel and a counterfeit Christ. And God's word warned us that there would be many false Christs, and many would come in his name and tell you where he was, you know, in the tabernacle over there in the desert, here and there. And we are warned not to listen to that. So without getting too off track here, this is very much an introduction, so I'm not going too much in depth on it, but I am going to be continuing this and going more in depth into what I think that truly got me to a place where I was able to be liberated from those things. Because it's not that I didn't believe in God. It's not that I didn't do what I thought was right. It's not that I wasn't seeking the truth. I had a hard time explaining this to one of my siblings who, I actually got to see some of my siblings I haven't seen in years, because my husband and I went, made a trip back up to Front Royal, Virginia, where, you know, Catholic town, where I grew up for the most part, and just getting everybody a chance to meet him. And it ended up being a pretty incredible trip, and I'll go in more into that as well, the positive things that happened. But trying to describe to somebody or get them to understand that it's salvation by grace through faith. It's not this, okay, yeah, I believe in God, you know, oh, I believe in Jesus, you know, Satan believes in Jesus. That's not what it is. It's not something you say. It's not just something you know. It's an experience. It is a movement. It is an acceptance, a complete embrace of something. And it's not something that comes from you. It's not from some special merit or intelligence or anything that comes from you. It comes from outside of you, and it comes from God. And it's really difficult to describe that to anybody. At least not if they haven't quite experienced it yet. Now, furthermore, I believe there are Christians. I believe there are people who have been raised Christians or believe in Jesus Christ and believe in his word, and they're not in any sort of religion or cult or anything like that, that have not had the full experience of that acceptance and belief and the transformation of it, which is all scriptural. I also believe there are some that have, but due to generational issues or other problems that have not been addressed, or trauma and different things like that, can still have demonic strongholds. And, you know, God knows best, and he works in mysterious ways, and I can't explain why there's some people who may have been Christians their whole lives that are struggling with this, or, you know, why there's somebody that's liberated from everything and somebody who's just liberated from something. You know, everybody has their own path that God is calling them to, and I don't have the answers to everything. But what I do know is that anybody suffering from this, there is hope, and that hope is in Jesus Christ, of the Bible, not any other, and that you can be liberated from it. You absolutely 100% can, if there is a demonic element to it. Like I said, this is aside from the strictly medical, though I doubt there are very few people out there who suffer just the strictly medical side of it. Just because evil runs rampant on this earth and in this day and age, and particularly within religions and churches in the time of great apostasy, which is what we are in. And a lot of us have been suffering from things like this since we were innocents and, you know, really had no choice in the matter. And things can be very deeply, deeply rooted. So, I think I've gone into enough for this video, for being the first one that I've uploaded in 3 months. And I apologize again that it's taken me a while to get back into this. I will be uploading again at least once a week and be continuing the subjects that we've started, and I will also be going back into my email and checking on any new emails that have been sent. I know that some of you have contacted me about the viewer, possibly subscriber, I'm not sure, who commented on the last video that I posted, that he's being trained as an exorcist in one of the Catholic dioceses, and I offered him my email, like I have to others, if he wanted to further correspond, which he does. And at this time, I'm not going to go more into that again. He's asked to privately correspond at this time, and so if there's anything eventually that I think would be helpful for this channel, if he gave permission, then I would do that. I understand your concerns. I understand for those of you who have messaged me that this could be some Jesuit or something trying to track me down, or, you know, somebody just effing around, you know, or a troll or this or that. Like, who knows who he really is? I mean, that's true. That's true. But at the same time, I try to be open to communicating with anybody who is open to corresponding, that has legitimate questions, that truly is seeking the truth, until I can prove otherwise, or it's shown otherwise, or I feel convicted by God to avoid talking to this person. And so I'm not naive, I'm not completely oblivious to the possibility of who might be behind this. But at this time, it's been moved off public platform into email, and those of you who have not received the email that I'm currently using for viewers and subscribers, you can comment below, and I'll repost it if necessary, because I know I've changed it a couple times, just because, you know, you've got to every once in a while you get somebody that is relentless and they're not going to stop harassing you, and so you have to change it. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up for now, and we'll continue shortly with this topic, with the last topic I posted, and continue on from there. Say bye, Cheddar Boy. Say bye, everybody.